Drugs have been a part of human culture since its start. The early drugs were derived from plants and trees, and hence considered the miracle of nature. In those early days, drugs were used as physical remedies, but also used as an offering to God. Archaeological evidence suggests that indigenous tribes chewed coca leaves, an ingredient for modern cocaine, in South America, for energy and pain relief as early as 8000 BCE. Though it was not much of an addiction back then, the use of drugs not as medicine but as addictive substance started in 3400 BC, when the Sumerians, one of the world's first known societies, discovered the opium poppy, one of the first known addictive drug. They called it the joy plant and used it for pain relief and ritualistic purposes, but also, as the name suggests, a source of pleasure, though it was not too addictive. Similarly, in China, as early as 2700 BC, cannabis was used for treating pain, inflammation, and mental illness. Plants-derived concoctions were administered for pain relief and sedation and gained popularity by means like traders and travelers. Around 1500 BC, many of these drugs were actively used as medicine in major parts of the world, like Egypt and India. These early civilizations recognized the powerful effects of natural substances. Opium, cannabis were not just medicine. They were gateways to altered states of consciousness, often linked to religious ceremonies and spiritual experiences. The Greeks and Romans also embraced drug use. Hippocrates, the father of medicine, documented the therapeutic effects of opium, but even then some noticed the darker side of these substances. By the first millennium CE, opium and cannabis had spread across Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. The Arab world refined opium-based elixirs. By this time, the addictive potential of these substances was becoming evident. As global trade expanded, so did the movement of drugs. The Silk Road and maritime trade routes brought opium, coca leaves, and cannabis to new regions. By the 16th century, European apothecaries sold opium tinctures for various ailments. At the same time, European explorers brought back tobacco and coca leaves from the New World. The Spanish, through their colonies in South America, got access to coca leaves. The indigenous tribes in South America had long used coca for endurance, but the Spanish realized its economic potential, and thus began the early commercialization of drugs. With the rise in medical science, the dangers of drugs became more clear. In the early 1800s, drugs like morphine and heroin were synthesized. These two were considered as medical breakthroughs, widely used to treat pain and even marketed as non-addictive. But addiction soon followed. Drugs were now also being used as a part of military warfares, a great example being the Opium Wars between China and Great Britain. The British aggressively supplied opium in China in exchange for silver. The Chinese population became addicted to opium, and it had devastating effect on China. During the American Civil War, thousands of soldiers were treated with morphine. Many became addicted to this drug, a phenomenon known as the soldier's disease. Meanwhile, in South America, coca leaves were refined into cocaine, one of the most addictive drugs of modern day. By the late 1800s, cocaine was even an ingredient in early Coca-Cola, before its addictive properties were fully understood. With addiction spiraling out of control, governments intervened. The Harrison Narcotics Tax Act of 1914 in the U.S. marked one of the first attempts at drug regulation. However, prohibition led to underground markets, fueling organized crime. The rise of drug mafias began in the early 20th century, as prohibition laws created opportunities for illegal drug trade. In the 1920s and 1930s, organized crime groups in the United States, such as the Italian-American Mafia, took advantage of alcohol prohibition and later expanded into heroin and cocaine trafficking. By the mid-20th century, the global drug trade saw a significant shift with the rise of powerful cartels. Despite restrictions, new drugs emerged. The 1960s counterculture movement embraced psychedelics like LSD and marijuana. In the 1970s, South American drug lords, including Pablo Escobar of Colombia's Medellin cartel, began trafficking massive amounts of cocaine to the United States, leading to the infamous cocaine boom of the 1980s. Many other synthetic drugs like methamphetamine and crack cocaine became popular, which led to harsh anti-drug policies and mass incarcerations. By the 1990s and 2000s, the Mexican cartels overtook their Colombian counterparts and became the main drug suppliers. The opioid crisis of the 21st century further fueled illegal drug markets, as synthetic opioids like fentanyl became highly profitable for organized crime groups. These illegal drug trafficking became multi-billion-dollar industries. By the year 2000, nearly all addictive drugs were banned in many countries. There have been various debates over the legalization of marijuana, the effectiveness of harm reduction strategies, and the balance between medical use and addiction prevention. While the exact numbers are unknown, it is estimated that today millions of people suffer from drug addiction and actively consume these substances.